Hey, Drag Race fans.
Season 14 is here, which means it's time to listen to the greatest Drag Race recap podcast in the entire world, allegedly.
Race Chaser with Alaska and Willem.
We've both been on Drag Race.
Some of us more successfully than the others.
And we know the tricks, we know the tips, we know the girls, and the behind-the-scenes secrets you won't be able to hear anywhere else.
Baby, we ain't gotta worry about pissing off anybody, so listen to Race Chaser every Wednesday for the real tea, only on Forever Dog's Mom Network. We ain't your mother, but we're your mom.
Do you want to go deeper?
If Race Chaser isn't enough drag for you, then join us on Fridays for Hot Goss, where we talk about internet gossip, dressing room drama, and lively debates about who zoned who tights and whose wig was wrong.
And if you're obsessed with Drag Race, if you love drag queens and want the insider track on every episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, then Race Chaser with Alaska and Willem is the perfect podcast for you.
You can find the show wherever you listen to podcasts, or just hold up some high heels to your ears and you'll be able to hear it. Grab a wig, too, sexy lip, and a pair of heels, press play.
Hey y'all, I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and welcome to a brand new episode. Hi, Jinkx! Woo! Sorry, I'm giddy because today our guest is a very, very funny, talented, amazing, brilliant, all the positive adjectives you can think of. It's Maria Bamford. Maria Bamford is a voice actor from basically every cartoon you've ever loved. She's an actor on many wonderful shows. She's a stand-up comedian. She's got a Netflix series about her life, and she is a personal hero. And I never in a million years thought I'd get to interview her, but here I am doing it. Dreams are coming true on Hi Jinkx 2022. So I hope you all enjoy as you hunker down and sink your teeth into some new Hi Jinkx.
Forever Dog.
Everyone, I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and welcome to Hi Jinkx, a podcast where I, an internationally tolerated drag superstar, get to interview compelling and fascinating people about how they became who they are and why they do what they do. Today, we are joined by comedian, actress, and the voice of so many characters you know and love, not to mention one of my personal heroes in life, Maria Bamford. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Jinkx.
So I'm going to start by pulling up a picture.
Yes.
Because I don't know how many years ago, but I chased you.
So adorable.
I literally chased you. I had fallen asleep the entire flight. We were on a flight together, and then getting off the flight, I saw you, many people ahead of me, and I do not condone this behavior. I do not recommend anybody listening do this, because when a person gets off a flight, you know, it's a jarring experience. Sometimes you wake up, you're in a different time zone. Maybe the weather has changed or the sun has gone down. Typically, you also have to pee. And that's exactly what happened this time. I chased you down. You were so kind. And you were like, we can take a picture, but I do have to pee really fast.
Getting serious. I was so delighted that anyone would care. I mean, that's why I get into show businesses, so that people would say hello to me. But yes, it was after that you did the I'm going to say Project Runway, but that is not the show. It is RuPaul's Drag Race, or was it during?
It was I don't know if it was definitely already happening, because I
Already
wouldn't have been
happening.
flying around the
Fine.
country if I hadn't
Okay.
already been on TV.
Because I remember looking you up and just seeing, anyway, seeing your performance on that show. It was just, you're insanely, it was just a pleasure to watch. And also, water off a duck's back, so positive, which I totally appreciate, because it is, I mean, especially that show, it is very hard to stay bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
That's putting it mildly. Yes, it's a very intense process going from the start to the finish of that show. But you know what? We all find our way to muddle through.
Yes.
I'm just gonna start by gushing real quick,
Okay.
because I think I was first exposed to your comedy and your work when I was maybe like 14 or 15 years old. And that was right before I started drag. And
Oh.
in multiple interviews, I think it's also listed on my Wikipedia page, people ask me who are my inspirations for my work as an entertainer and as a drag artist. You're always listed. I think I was first. I first discovered the Maria Bamford show when you were doing what I can assume was independently or semi-independently produced web shows about your personal life, and it just resonated with me so much. And becoming a fan of yours, and then like kind of backtracking and realizing how many things that I already loved you were a part of. For my listeners right now, you're a voice actor whose career spans decades.
Yeah, it's my favorite zone. I love to be in a booth away from others. Away from others.
Yeah.
That's my zone. Or amplified and lit monologuing. Those are my two safe spaces.
You do impressions and voices in your stand-up work, and then once you kind of learn Maria Bamford's voices,
Yeah.
you can start to hear you in almost every animated show that exists. To list a few, you were Shriek. This is something I just learned today in my notes and my research. You were the character Shriek Dubois in the show Cat Dog from the glory days of Nickelodeon cartooning. You voice multiple characters on Adventure Time, and this is huge. I think most notably the Slime Princess.
Yes.
And then other animated credits include American Dad, Ugly Americans, Big Mouth. You voiced Tito, the anxiety mosquito. BoJack Horseman, and then that's just a notable list, but I feel like you're everywhere.
Oh, well, no, it's a great chunk of my income that will allow for a generous pension. So also, I always loved cartoons as a kid, so it's been spectacular to be a part of what I realize now is a machine. Whoops. It's a beautiful machine, of which I am a small cog. And I like the voiceover. Have you done voiceover yourself? Have you done?
I have, and I fucking love it,
Right.
because I say it's like getting to do drag without getting into drag, which is the only part of drag that gives me the blues, because it's like a 2 to 3 hour transformation process, and some people love it. I've been doing it so long that doing the makeup for 2 hours does not thrill me anymore.
Right there. I don't know if it ever thrilled me, but I mean, being a het cis is well, it's slightly drag when you're going to do television or do live shows. I've been told many times, just put on some lipstick. Jesus Christ. You're just a bag of bones and a hank of hair out there. I'm not interested anymore in beauty. I mean, that is part of the joy of watching RuPaul's Drag Race, is going, right? God damn it, to just even look slightly feminine. It takes a number of hours and a pump and a serious pump.
Well, I've had people, many times in my work say, I'd love to look like you. What are the secrets? How do I look like you? And I'm like, you got 3 hours to spare every day? Because trust me, it's a necessary evil. But
Yeah.
the moment that they invent like a shotgun that can just shoot my makeup onto my face, I can just load it up and hand it to my assistant and stand against a wall. I'm all for it. I'll be the prototype tester. I'm going to stray from, my producer always gives me such a cohesive, comprehensive outline for all my guests.
God. Wow.
I'm going to stray from it a little bit and kind of piece things together with you the way that I perceived them as a fan and an audience member. And you tell me how close I am to the truth.
Okay.
So
I love it. Oh, that's fun.
So the Maria Bamford show was extremely candid. The premise was that after a series of mental breakdowns, you left the public eye and moved back in with your mother in Duluth, Minnesota. And that's where the show is taking place. It was you doing lots of impressions of your family, you being extremely candid and open about your own journey with mental health. And it also gave us a lot of your backstory as an artist, a comedian, and an entertainer. And going backwards from that, I then found like early stand-up of you.
Right. Okay.
And you do an impression of yourself in your more recent stand-up. You do an impression of yourself in your early stand-up days when you were doing possibly more commercial stand-up or late night stand-up.
Right.
And your impression of yourself is so amazing. And then to go back and watch that and see the material that you're making a joke about just kind of blew my mind. Can we talk a little bit about your transition from mainstream stand-up to the more candid, personal, maybe niche stand-up that you do today?
Well, now, of course, everybody knows it's such a beautiful time on the internet and where you can find your own specific audience and be extremely famous to 4 people. And it's lovely. I mean, but when I believe when I was starting out, and also as a human being, just grew up in a certain, a way women should act. And also I remember doing Vegas once and the guy was like, you got to explain your jokes. You got to say, I'm crazy. I'm this crazy woman. I'm not schizophrenic, but I'm schizo. And I was like, okay. So there was that. I think then now it has become more popular to comment on that sort of it's good because everybody likes it, right? If I say it in the right rhythm, you laugh. And so I like I do find I also did terribly. I was sent home from so many comedy clubs in the beginning of my career. Like I got fired so many times that for just and I don't know if I was definitely trying to make people laugh. I don't know what was happening. Oh, I may have to ask them. But yes, so I guess the style and becoming more myself was definitely a part of also frustration of going, well, I'm not even getting action from trying to be more palatable. So may as well go all in on what I find to be funny. I know the way that Maria Bamford show came up was because I could never get on a sitcom. Like I just, for whatever reason, I always wanted to be on a sitcom. I was never on one, couldn't get on it. And so I thought, well, I'll make my own. And I did a one-woman show, the one-woman show, um, and playing all the characters. And that's what I still do now, is I give my own myself the job that I want, like not wait for someone else to give it to me.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I find that, in my own career, most of the work that people know me for is work I created for myself, aside from the reality TV beast that I slayed. But I
Which is
read.
also, I mean, that was a creative, brave act,
Oh,
because to interact within that structure is very, and to still manage to be yourself is very, difficult.
And for someone who, creates their own work a lot, I think one of the hardest things is giving over the final word and the final say to someone else. I think when we're putting out our own work, we are in control of what makes it to the public. And
I love it.
there's a huge amount of trust that goes into handing over this chunk of your life to someone else to edit and interpret and then display for others. So.
Yeah, I'm curious, have you had creative projects pitched to you where would be more of a group edit situation that you've been a part of, or?
Most of the work that I've done since Drag Race, aside from, I've done some TV and film, and I've done a handful of voiceover stuff, but most of my work is self-generated and self-produced, and then the final edit that goes out into the world, I at least get some kind of veto power on.
Right. Okay.
It's really just reality TV was the time that I really had to just hand over everything to someone else and hope for the best. And, I can't complain about the outcome.
Oh, you certainly can. Well, and as a comedian, they've had several reality shows over the years, and I just, not for lack of wanting to, but because I knew I could not handle it if I was edited in a way, like I was certain that I would be the psychological mess on any. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's going to be me. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to have that on film. But so it's just really brave, to be yourself and have it. Oh Lord.
Well, speaking of bravery and being yourself,
Yes.
that has been, I think, dare I say, the cornerstone of the work that you put out into the world, and what I think people really resonate with. I know that I learned a lot about. Oh, okay. So I think it's like this. Growing up in America, I'm 34 now. I definitely think times are changing. I think attitudes are changing. And with everyone being upfront and candid and being willing to share their own stories, the attitude and the stigma towards mental illness is being shifted greatly.
Yes.
But when I grew up, I remember, like when I was young, I remember the huge stigma around mental illness. Admitting that you struggled with mental health or mental illness, seeking help for it, being honest and upfront with people about it. Flash forward to today, and there's Lady Dynamite, a Netflix series starring you based on your life, which is all about, I assume, the ins and outs and the daily trials and tribulations of being someone with anxiety, depression, and OCD.
I got diagnosed with bipolar in 2011. I'd always had issues or whatever, but yeah, I mean, there have been people. Jonathan Winters, he spoke about having bipolar 1 for since the 60s. But yeah, I think it just seems like it's so much better now. I know there are, it's just like any, the differently abled people. Like when you, everyone says, oh yeah, I totally get it. I want everyone to be included. And then it's like, you need a ramp? What?
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's, I think the next step is that having accessibility for people, like I think in terms of neurodiversity and having people who's yeah, I don't know, because I think that would be comedy is such a great place to be neurodiverse. In fact, you're rewarded for it. So but I think I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to sound lofty.
I think I get it. I think we are definitely at the point right now where a lot of people are trying to talk the talk, and then it needs to be followed up by walking the walk, or however that person gets around. Because I think about it, a very good friend of mine, you know, in, I believe, her mid-20s, early 20s, suffered from complications with lupus and now uses a wheelchair. And it wasn't until there was someone close in my life who uses a wheelchair did I realize how many things aren't wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
And then regionally it changes so much. Like I grew up in Portland, Oregon. I live there again now. I've seen so much, especially within the queer community, you know, like so many so much done to be accessible to everyone in the community, you know, like ASL interpreters at shows.
Nice, yeah.
Making sure that the space is accessible to people. But you go to different places in the country or different parts of the world. I remember just a crazy thought in my head. I was at this restaurant in Italy, and the bathroom, you had to get up against the wall and like crab walk back to the bathroom because they had all these shelves in the way. And I was like, a person in a wheelchair who uses a wheelchair would not be able to comfortably explore Venice. You know, it's just not set up that way. And I think it's easy to see those examples in life and out in the world for something like a wheelchair, but it's harder to identify those kind of things for
mental health.
What was you just used the word
neurodiverse. I mean, that's
neurodiverse.
Well, and I think it's just because so many employees, big corporations are kind of putting more money into this. It's mental health awareness and like barnyard craft font, and which is all good, well and good. But then you don't want to feel gaslit when you call your insurance and you're suicidal and they can't see you for 3 months, or you call the suicide hotline at a surge time and it's 45 to 90 minute wait. Like it's like there are still issues, or like what the TV show, Lady Dynamite, what I found really so funny about it was that the whole time we talked about development of the show, we talked a lot about how the meds kind of take me out of the game. You know, like I definitely always sleep 12 hours because of these meds. And but then when it came to shooting it, it was like, oh well, you got to come back in 6. We'll pay you extra. And I'm like, you guys, do you remember how I told you I was mental? And how exactly I will go mental, like that the work ethic thing in and maybe that's only Western society, but I'm sure it's other societies are working 19-hour days, but like of like, and it's, I think it can also happen of like, well, as long as you can do the work, you must be fine, which I don't know if is always true either. So, but I find that hard, you know, interesting too, that people are like, totally, of course, take a mental, well, we kind of need it. We can't take a mental health day that, you know, like, but not now. Don't take one now.
That's you know, that's really interesting, and I think represented really well in the show, Lady Dynamite, which is so funny to hear that like you're doing a show about how hard it can be to be in the entertainment business when you're struggling with mental illness or thriving with mental illness. You could be thriving with it and
Oh my
still
God,
and
yes.
still have the complications, to see the show. And first of all, like I think every entertainer who's gotten to the point where they have a manager or representation, Anna Gasteyer's character on that
Oh,
show, so well written, so well performed, and such like hitting the nail on the head of what it's like to have someone whose job it is to take your creativity and commercialize it, and take your creativity and make it financially viable
and
for
get you
both of
jacked
you.
up, like get you like so pumped up out of your mind that you're kind of confused at what's happening. Like,
And that in combination with the depiction of a manic episode, and how kind of like you're getting shit done in this manic episode, and you're getting everything, like everything's happening, but what's actually being created at the
well,
end?
and I'm doing, I mean, the idea in the show was like I was get this job where it's not something I believe in, which is related to I was a Target spokesperson for 3 years, and then and that was at the time where I was kind of going off the rails, and part of it was this obsession with I'm making all this money. It's fun to do this character. I can't sleep. I'm having so many great ideas. I'm going to call the New York Times. Don't do it, Maria. Don't New York Times, especially when you have ideas about going to space. Don't call the New York Times. They're busy. They're busy, honey. But there's what was I remember I used to work at a news desk, and somebody called me and says I had to triage different calls, and this woman said I have a news thing item, please could you could you put me through to the news department? I said, well, what is it about? So which person I can push you through to? And she said, well, there are devils coming out of my eyes. And I'm like, okay, sports. That's right. That is a baseball issue.
In your work, a lot in the Maria Bamford show, a lot in your stand-up, you have material about your family members, and then you also do impressions of your family members. And this is one of my favorite aspects of your work as a comedian. I'm sure everyone has their own favorite Maria Bamfordisms, but your impression of your mom, Marilyn, is one of my favorite things. I love the Minnesota accent. It's so endearing to me. I feel like I've seen clips of your real life mom,
yeah.
talking about your impressions of her, and of course it's like your impressions of her are dialed to 1,000, and
Yeah.
It's
pretty close. My and I would just want to let you know, my mom passed under
I'm so
2 years
sorry to
ago.
hear that.
No, and that's okay. And she would be so delighted that she is being mentioned on this podcast. She loved show business. But yeah, my mom is the best, and she's been the most supportive of me doing an impersonation of her. Whereas my sister, I did an impersonation of her, and she put the kibosh on that several years ago. Oh, well, which I get it. She's in a small town in Minnesota, and it's like, LA, if somebody's pissed at me, I'll never see him again. Like we live in Montrose, we will never meet. But my sister lives in a small town, so it's like everybody, she's known since childhood. So it's like, she's at the doctor, like, you see that joke your sister did about you? Like, yeah, she doesn't need my nonsense. So, but do you do familial material?
Jinkx Monsoon, the character,
Yes.
has always kind of been based off the women of my family.
Oh.
When I think hard about it, I'm like, yeah, there's like so many parallels between my mother and Jinkx, but the Jinkx character is way less like my mom than if I were to do like a strict Deanne impression,
Oh.
but my impressions of my mom are pretty famous amongst my friends in my household because they've all met her and they've all dealt with her at different points in time.
Can I see a little Deanne? Oh,
yeah, her thing is that she gets stressed at the drop of a hat. It's like it's 0 to 60, first moment of conflict. So she'll come over, honey, I have to help you set up the table. Oh, you've cooked all the dinner. I would have cooked. I couldn't. My stove isn't working. I couldn't help. But I'll set the table. I'll just go into the kitchen and get the plates and the. I can't find the plates. Where are the forks? I don't know where anything in this kitchen is. And it's like, no one's asking for any of this, lady. Let's dial it back. And my favorite thing she does is in Oregon, I don't think it's around anymore, but there was a pizza buffet restaurant called Izzy's that was famous with my family. We love buffets. And she would go, and I told my best friend once when he came to dinner with us, I told them, my mom's going to eat dinner peacefully for about 20 minutes, and then she's going to start complaining about how tired she is. It's going to happen, so just be ready for it. And sure enough, we're at Izzy's, and 20 minutes in, she starts, oh my goodness. I think they put something in the salads, the preservatives or something. You all have to eat fast. I have to get out of here. It's like,
would she leave? Would she leave and tip over?
No, but she's got to get everyone home and she's got to wait for the dinner to be done. So it's not so much that she's going to excuse herself. It's that everyone else has to now rush eat because the salad has made mom sleepy. Like every time we go, she's convinced there's something in the. They spray the salad with preservatives to keep it fresh longer.
Well, Deanna is right, Jinkx. Deanna is just right about that. And that's why I always say, is it on the side? Can you get me a ramekin? Like everything on the side. I just like a little light oil, and salt and pepper, and that's
just
going to do you.
Slicking it down the gullet. Do you enjoy watching the work that you create? Have you seen every episode of Adventure Time? Because I have. I'll just say it.
I know, it's a beautiful show.
I was its target audience when it was airing, and then I have rewatched it as an adult to like analyze it and dig deeper into the meanings and how it made me feel as a teenager.
She's a deep one. I know the guy. I know Pendleton Ward because he lives in my old neighborhood, and I met him that way. That's what I think why I got the job, because I met him in the neighborhood. I don't so much. I don't. I'll watch a stand-up set of his first special to see if am I saying the jokes? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. For some reason, that's not as interesting to me. I mean, I'd like to get better as an actor, but I don't. Yeah, I don't like to watch myself afterwards. I don't. I know some people would watch the rushes and stuff and edit, and I did not do that at all with Lady Dynamite. Nope. Because I had to go home and I had to get my 12-hour.
Get my 12-hour. I'm very much the same. I like someone to do the first pass of editing. I like someone to weed away all the stuff that I don't need to be concerned with. Like if it's something I'm producing or creating myself, of course I eventually have to watch it.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but lots of times I like to wait until it's just all said and if possible I wait until it's all said and done and just accept it, Yeah. I make my opinions very well known while filming, like don't use that one, or this was really stupid. Please remember that this was the stupid take. And then I like to see someone else's interpretation of all of that later. But I will watch everything once, sometimes twice, and then try to just put it away forever.
You had a Christmas special come out, right?
Well, that one I've watched like I don't know how many times. I do that obnoxious thing where I show someone new this film I worked on and co-wrote and co-starred, and I sit there and watch them the whole time to see how So I try not to do that, but it happens once in a while. But
And how did you have a producer, or like did you self-fund it, or how did that work?
it was all Ben de la Creme, who's the co-writer and
Oh,
co-star.
oh,
She was the head producer. She got some investors, but
oh,
essentially it was Ben de la Creme presents, producing. She directed it. We co-wrote it. It was all very in-house.
nice.
And that's, like when possible. I mean, I think, of course, that's the dream is when you maintain control of the piece from start to finish, so that those outside people don't get in and start saying, and now we're gonna make action figures
Yeah,
out of you.
no, all of a sudden you're like, what? Well, not Lady Dynamite. I definitely let go of all control because I didn't have the energy or the brain capacity to do it, which totally, I mean, worked out a lot of time. But sometimes I was like, some things I didn't agree with, and I think, oh, maybe I should have, like, the fact that my character gives blowjobs like 8 times over, and I was like, okay, if you're going to mention a blowjob, you need to say how hard it is to give a blowjob, and I need to have like a character reason of what it is about that. Like, anyways, I feel like you gotta have respect for the BJ. You can't just use that as a throwaway line.
So, have you enjoyed being as candid as you have been, with your personal life making its way into your material? Has there been? I'm sure it's a double-edged sword. I'm sure there's pros and cons to being as candid and upfront, about your personal life and your work. Would you say the good outweighs the bad? That's like 3 questions in a row, but
Oh,
it's all kind of the same thing.
for sure, the good outweighs the bad, and also it separates, as my mother would say, the wheat from the chaff. Like I get to perform for people. I mean, which is also a new thing in this era, is you get to perform for people who love what you do,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
for comedy at least was not always the case. Like, I can still run into some live wires, but it's just much less often where it's a hostile environment, and so that's wonderful. And I think, yeah, the fact that I do talk about, also it makes me feel welcome, because then I go,
Mhm.
anybody who likes my stuff, I mean, I would presume has had or knows someone who's had a mental health issue. So I'm like, if I I can also check in. I can check in with them. I'm not feeling very good today. How about you? Um, like, yeah, I'm not, my brand isn't I'm not particularly slick. So that's good. Yeah, no, I've only been good, and it does make me feel more useful, because then I know that as a kid, I felt super isolated, like a huge weirdo. I'm sure, like many kids, where you just go, "Oh, am I the only person who sees the world this way?" And it turns out, Google it. Nope.
I will say that sometimes just, whether it makes its way into your work or whether it's something you're candid about, like in your public presence, um, I think we hear like advocacy, and we hear like being an advocate for something, and we think that it means you're like at the rallies at the front of the line, like holding the banners and like, we demand this. But sometimes it's just talking about it to
Yeah.
your audience. Sometimes it's just like bringing it up. I mean, that's, I think, the biggest step towards destigmatizing things,
Yeah.
is realizing how many people, and successful people, how many people you already know and admire,
Yeah.
deal with these things.
Well, and I think, like, and I, my mom was a therapist, or she trained to be a therapist after we were out of high school, and I was prejudice against mental health. Like when it was time for me to go to the hospital, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm good. Like I could go to a spa or something and just run around in a circle with my bare feet. Is that okay? No. Yeah, like, I think I had so much stigma myself, and I've always thought of myself as an accepting person. And then it was like, well, I like to bring it up, things like suicide, all that's just because if people talk about it more, then I feel like it's less likely to get to that point where someone is so alone. And also like, I'm trying to do material about the accessibility of, because there are great new things. Instead of calling the police, you can call emergency mental health teams. I'm sure Portland probably has a lot of wonderful options of things that you can call, because sometimes when you call for help, you get shot, it's not ideal. I brought a friend who was experiencing psychosis, and this was during the time of all the, the Black Lives Matter movement had just begun, and then the quarantine. And my friend was experiencing terribles, and we went to an emergency psychiatric unit. Inside the psychiatric unit, what was playing on the big screen TV was CNN in real time, playing over and over again the murder of George Floyd, over and over again. I was like, hey, could we kind of, anything from HGTV, guys, get cable at all? Because seems like what? Like just, yeah. So it's, and my friend was an African-American person, and you just go, oh my God, the healthcare you could get could be super shitty. And yet it was still hopeful. Like they were able to get meds. That's great. But I just, that's the thing I get worried about, the marketing aspect, the Instagram aspect of mental health thing, where it's like, it's going to be fun and everyone's going to understand. And it's like, ooh, there's going to be an orange cigarette bucket and a man making bird calls while he exposes himself to you. But you won't kill yourself. That's what we can guarantee. There's going to be a Filipino lady with eyes on you for 24 hours a day. So
it was such a shift in my life when I felt like, oh, we can actually talk about this. Right. And I think in America, there's a stigma still. And there's always kind of been a stigma in my life of seeking help or asking for help, because there's this American mentality of, we can do it. You got to hike up your bootstraps and take care of everything yourself. Because if you don't, you're a failure. And
that it's got to be the right help, that it's got to be perfect help. Like it's got to be whatever it is, Christian or LA. It's like, this guy, you've got to meet him. He's on a helicopter pad from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's $9,000, but you're best. Like, no, just any fucking shitty ass help. Like go to the Jehovah's Witnesses, see what they have on offer. Like anything that's within walking distance, go to Taco Bell. Like seriously, I just feel like to lower the bar to what help is as well. Like I go to 12-step programs, which are cultish and weird and problematic, but they are free. They are free, so yeah, because I think that's something about America too. It's like, oh, well, you have to go to the right person with the right formula. And it's like, it usually costs money.
Yeah. And that's, of course, a huge thing in America right now is, like there are ways to seek help and live a happy, productive life. And a lot of them cost money. And then the free ones, like you said, are a mixed bag. Yeah. And what I found is what kind of open. It was my gateway therapy was kind of overcoming that stigma and overcoming the kind of, so in my family, I don't know why. I think it's because I was an old soul. Um, everyone in my family poured their secrets into me. So it was like I knew the
Whoa.
secrets from my grandma that my mom wasn't supposed to know. I knew the secrets about my grandma that my mom wasn't supposed to tell me, so I can't repeat it. And I was this little like safe full of secrets. And a big part of why it was all secret is because no one wanted to be labeled like the mess or the crazy one. I watched my people in my family just in complete denial about addiction for most of my life. So then when I struggled with my own addiction, it was like, if I can't take care of this myself, or if I can't find a way to drink responsibly, then I'm just like everyone else in my family, or I'm a failure. Like I should have known better. I should have not found myself struggling with alcoholism because I knew better, because I grew up around it. So it took me a long time to admit my own issues with alcoholism. And then it took, like 3 more years to finally do something about it.
No. Who has time? There's a box.
Yeah.
There's a box of wine that needs to be empty.
It's right there. And then, I've struggled with depression in my life, but not as much until, the fame monster happened. Because before that, there was school and there was work and there were a lot of things to keep my mind off of myself. Then I experienced success, and then that kind of opened up like, oh, and now you have now your whole life is about like who you are as a person, and you start examining yourself. Sometimes you don't like what you find. And then being 2.5 years sober now, I found that as soon as I cut alcohol out of my life, the anxiety rose to a maximum, because I was like, oh, the alcohol kept the anxiety quiet.
Yeah.
The alcohol kept my OCD tendencies to a minimum because I was too drunk to care. And now all of those things that have always been there are running the show because alcohol's not there to quiet them or slow them down.
Well, and if you do like, I know that I've been in 12-step. I was a bulimic, and so I've been in Overeaters Anonymous for about 30 years, and then I've been in Debtors Anonymous 25 years. What? So sexy. And well, and I'm not supposed to even tell people that, right? That's supposed to be the cult rules. You're not supposed to tell anybody.
It's anonymous.
It's anonymous. Maria.
Well, you're a comedian, so can we even take anything you say seriously?
Exactly. Yeah. Is it the truth? I don't know. But oh gosh, I was just thinking, the feelings that come up, or sometimes I would translate my OCD tendencies into the 12-step program, like getting kind of Catholic about it, like going, I got to do a 5th step because my 4th step wasn't complete. The 4th step, I did 5th step, and then I'm going to do the 12th step because 12th step is me. I'm back to the reverse. You go to the 1, you go to the 1st step, and you got to go to meetings. I mean, you got to go to 6 meetings a day, right? Because I mean, if I'm not in a meeting, am I even in recovery? I start to spin out. I can do anything in a bizarre, exciting way, but it's so true. Once you take away the effective drug, it's the bummer.
Well, the self-medication is it got that way for a reason. It helped at some point, Yes. And then in comes the addiction. And I realized that I started that tangent, and I went on my own tangent about my mental history, and never even got to the point that I started with, which was my gateway into therapy. Was text-based therapy, because that was what I felt like I could handle.
Yes.
And so we are living in this golden age of, anytime something becomes commercialized, anytime someone's making money off of it, you have to be sensible. You have to make sure you're not getting taken for a ride. But I will say that subscribing to a therapy app and finding a therapist who would text with me, and he always offered to do phone calls, but I was too scared to do phone calls and too scared to do FaceTime, because there was something about voicing it out loud,
Oh,
at
yeah.
least then. So, excuse me, everything was text-based, and it was like, oh, it's like texting my friends about all my anxieties. It's like giving my friend, like waking my friend up at 2 a.m. with 30 anxiety texts, except this person is trained and capable of taking those texts and helping me through it and helping me decipher and analyze it, rather than my friend who's like, I don't know what to do. Please stop unloading all of your emotions on me. I'm just a person.
Do you want to go to Sephora?
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, I've just signed up because I did no CD, that's a text thing. And I did face-to-face things for a OCD thing I was having trouble with the quar, and that was helpful. And now I've signed up for BetterHelp again. I tried BetterHelp once and it was so hilarious. The first text I got, or one of the second texts I got from the therapist was, Christine, of course you're stressed. You just had a baby. And I was like, sounds like she's busy. She's
got a lot on her plate right now.
So, but I'm down to text. I think I just got another message from the BetterHelp people. So, because I love theraps, and especially not to have to drive anywhere and then sit in a weird waiting room.
Yeah, with my current therapist, it started because of it started through Zoom calls because of COVID, and now it's like, I was on tour for a little bit before Omicron swept in and put that show down. But now it's kind of like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Now that I'm past that threshold of not being able to like look someone in the eyes while I'm talking about myself,
Right.
It's really helpful to be able to meet with my therapist on a Zoom call, because it doesn't matter where in the world I am or what, we can find somewhere where our time zones link up, and that's been extremely helpful. And like we were talking about, like just being able to talk about things, just hearing other people talk about things and hearing the real life experiences versus what we're told through media and television and movies, what a crazy person looks like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even that state of health is somehow wrong. It's like, if somebody is, agitated, manic, is having delusions, like, normalize it, like in that the person, and I don't even know what it is to do with somebody who is a social worker who works with people with psychosis would be better, but just like that, it isn't an ethical thing. Like it isn't like, like or something the person isn't someone you have to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all just have circumstances we deal with. Some people are tall. Some some people have to bend down to get through a doorway. Some people are left-handed. Some people, have to rewatch a TV show every night so that they can calm down enough to go to sleep. I'm on my fourth watching of Seinfeld, like
oh my God,
the last 2 years. It calms me because it's like, whatever, everything happens in the episode, and then by the next episode, everything's back to the way it was before, and that really calms me. Seinfeld, The Simpsons, The Office, like these things calm me down.
Those are I like a queer eye for the straight guy. I like seeing a transformation of someone's life through exterior traits. like you just needed pillows. You needed pillows.
You just needed pillows and a haircut.
God damn you. Like, yeah, it's just so, I love that. My husband's like, how can we get on that show? And I'm like, oh my God.
Just start now. Let yourself go. And in about 2 years, JVN will just get the JVN senses will start tingling. We spent so much time talking about your work as an advocate that we barely talked about your body of work as an entertainer. But
no
everyone
need.
should go out there and just watch everything you've ever done because you're just fantastic. You talked about being an actor as well as a comedian. You did a season of Arrested Development. Your character was complex and nuanced.
Debris Bardo. Yeah.
And the series creator called you a comical genius and said that real artists talk about things that nobody else talks about and talk about them candidly. And I couldn't agree more. It's definitely what's kept me a fan for years and years, besides you just being naturally gifted, talented, and hilarious. I have my final. These go real quick.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'll let you get
No.
get off
I
to your
gotta get to the merch
jet-setting
page.
lifestyle.
I gotta get the merch page so I can get my merch, my Jinkx merch.
I have these compulsory questions I ask every guest that I have.
Yes.
You answer them however you feel.
Okay.
First question is, who is your celebrity crush today? And you can interpret that question anyway.
I love The Rock. No, that, I know that's a sort of a common answer. It's sort of a go-to. Of course, you'd love The Rock. He's positive and he seems like a very hard worker. And he was the best part of the Fast and Furious series that I believe I'm going to abandon watching. I watched Fast and Furious 9. I was like, where's The Rock? What's he got cooking? Nothing, because he had a fight with the star of the show. Anyways, I love The Rock.
That's a wonderful answer.
Mm-hmm.
Question 2 is, are you spiritual?
No, I am science-based. So I do believe into the science of prayer, that if you say things and, the cognitive shifts and that you can connect your neural pathways in a good way and set your brain on fire with spirituality, with group ritual. But I do not believe that this is a universe of meaning. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You never have to apologize for your true feelings and thoughts. Final question is, what's your go-to karaoke song? Oh, Pat Benatar, Love is a Battlefield.
Love is a battlefield.
Heartache to heartache we stand.
I love it when the guest starts singing the song. I had Deborah Wilson from Mad TV fame, also renowned voice actor. I had Deborah Wilson on and asked her go-to karaoke song, and I think she said Moon Dance. Oh, it's a wonderful night for a moon dance. And then she sang the entire song. She sang the entire song a cappella at the drop of a hat. Maria Bamford, you are quite truly one of my heroes. I have just absolutely loved this conversation. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jinkx. I honor you and your journey, and also the beauty. You are a wonderful performer, and I was so honored to meet you back on that airplane. I wish I hadn't had to pee. And
no.
And it's so great. I hope to see you. Maybe I'll see you in London, because I'm going to London this year. I saw your dates. You're going October. So.
I mean, fingers crossed.
Right?
Everything. Where can my listeners find you on your social medias?
I'm at Maria Bamfoo on Twitter, and sometimes I do live one-on-one shows with people in person and on Zoom, depending on what I'm feeling like. So you can follow me there, or I'm on Instagram at Maria Bamford Comedy. And then you could just meet me in Altadena, California. I'm wandering around with a rainbow hat.
Some recent posts on your Instagram that were one of my favorite things was reasons to stay alive for 2022, and it was all based off of a trip to a drugstore, right?
Yeah,
a Walgreens.
Yeah. That was it was the 12 reasons to stay alive. There's only 12 really. But stick around and
maybe we'll generate new ones.
Maybe there are new ones. No, there's a wonderful book, and I think the title is Reasons to Stay Alive, and it's a beautiful book saying all the reasons to stay alive. But well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show and promoting all my shit.
And if you or anyone listening wants to look this up, type in Jinkx Monsoon SNL audition, and you will see it's brief, but there is a Maria Bamford impersonation in my SNL audition. I'm not saying it's great or anything, but I had to get you in there.
Oh my God. What? I'd be there. Wow. I never auditioned for SNL, which was a boon for everyone because I don't like working with others. So,
well,
stand-up has been good. Anyways.
You're absolutely amazing, and thank you so much, Maria. And thank you all so much for listening to Hi Jinkx here on the Forever Dog and Moguls of Media Network. My name is Jinkx Monsoon, and we have new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to search for Hi Jinkx on your favorite podcast app and hit subscribe. You can follow me at The Jinkx on Instagram or at Jinkx Monsoon everywhere else, and I'll see you next Wednesday for some more Hi Jinkx.
Forever Dog.
To listen to Hi Jinkx ad-free and one day early, sign up for Forever Dog Plus at foreverdogpodcasts.com/plus. Hi Jinkx is produced by Forever Dog and Moguls of Media, aka Mom. Hosted by me, Jinkx Monsoon, produced by Joseph Shepard, editing and sound design by Will Pitts, and executive produced by Willem Belli, Alaska Thunderfuck, Brett Boehm, Big Dipper, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey.